How are you doing, guys? SmartEntity here. Welcome to the third video in my Syndicate Melee review series. Today we're looking at the Rakta Dark Dagger. Now this is definitely the most unique Syndicate Melee of all the Syndicate Melees, mainly because it's a dagger, and as a result it allows you to use the ultimate endgame mod, Covert Lethality. Now I actually have a video on the Ivara build. It basically shows how this mod works, but in short, Covert Lethality is a mod that allows you to one-hit KO any enemy regardless of its level. Now I'll put a link here to show you guys. So to give you guys an example, say if you're using Loki in the beginning of a mission when no enemy are aware of you, you go invisible, you backstab the enemy, i.e. a guaranteed finisher, you can one-hit KO it, even if it's level 9,999. Ivara is one of the better frames to use this for because at any stage in the mission you can use sleep arrow to put the enemy into sleep, and then you can obviously backstab it, and the fact that Ivara allows permanent invisibility is definitely a bonus as well. Now to look at the build here, so we got maxed prime pressure point Fury as our core mods. I am using maxed prime reach. Again, these builds are not top optimized DPS builds, are more fun builds and builds designed to get the most out of this particular weapon. So I know with daggers you get short range to begin with, so a percentage on that short range is still short, but because again we're using Covert Lethality as the main hero of this mod, damage isn't that big a deal, so I'm using prime reach because it's fun. Now with this particular weapon, the unique ability is it reduces visibility and restores shields or grants overshields when damaging a target afflicted by radiation. So this weapon does baseline 50 radiation damage, and it has a baseline of 10% status proc. So that's why I'm actually using Virulent Scourge, Vicious Frost one from the top because I haven't formatted this, Volcanic Edge, as well as Voltaic Strike, so all your dual elemental stat mods. So baseline was 10%, you can pretty much get a radiation proc on average once every 10 hits. With this kind of modding, you get a proc on average about once every 3 hits. So the way it works is you hit the enemy, get radiation proc. Radiation proc basically allow it to attack anyone in its proximity, allies, enemies alike. But more importantly, because you can get that energy shield, not energy, sorry, just shields, or over a shield, you definitely want that proc active as much as possible. Alright, so we're in a capture mission on Uranus right now, so we're going to play as Loki, just to show off that Covert Lethality quickly. So we just jumped into the mission, and no enemy are aware of our presence right now, and definitely keep the invisibility up to maintain it. So you go behind an enemy, they're unaware of you, you press E, you one-hit KO it, you press E, you one-hit KO it. Now to be honest, these enemies are pretty low level to begin with, so with or without Covert Lethality you can pretty much kill it anyway. But unless I use Ivara and go 1 hour above is in a survival, it's going to be pretty hard to show you guys exactly how Covert Lethality works. So just pretend those enemies are actually level 100 and they would have died just like that anyway. Alright, so we're back on Pluto. As much as I love Arcwing, I just cannot stand submersive Arcwing. It's just like insult to Arcwing. So just to show that, okay, that wasn't what I expected. But just to show that, again, so it's pretty consistent. Alright, so the movement speed of the Rakta Dark Dagger, by no surprise, is very smooth like all other daggers. Basically, it's smooth when it got a high baseline movement speed, and all daggers have a high movement speed, so very smooth movement, very easy getting through laser doors, and avoiding knockdowns, etc.
We'll interrogate the captive back at base. Your part is done here, Tenno. They've brought in reinforcements. Versa.
Now we are here on Pluto, so definitely one of the highest level enemies at baseline. And I hope you kind of already see the problem with this weapon's unique ability. So if you recall what I said, you gotta first proc the enemy to get that radiation proc on them, and then once you attack them you can get that shield recharge or overshield on. But the problem is the enemies are usually so weak for everyday gameplay, and especially with the absence of, void keys, etc. There's really no reason to play high level. So in that sense, if enemies is just gonna almost immediately die, it's gonna be a bit hard or inconsistent to activate that unique ability. But more importantly, what is the point of that ability, right? So the theory is, if the enemy is weak, you want to do mass damage to kill them. If the enemy is strong, then you want to increase survivability, right? So you can survive. So enemies are generally so weak anyways, there's really not much use for this increase in shield or overshield, because, well, they're just gonna die, you don't need it. So that in itself makes the Rakta Dark Dagger unique ability a bit bad.
Droid, protect the remaining dig sites.
Lastly, as I mentioned before, daggers do not have the attack from above knockdown effect. Alrighty, so let's sum this weapon up. Now, the Rakta Dark Dagger is, I would say, the overall strongest weapon of all the melee weapons, not because it's Rakta or because it have impressive stats, simply because it's a dagger and it can use covert lethality. And that to me is just a bit disappointing because it pretty much took any uniqueness out of it. Now, other than that, it's important to note that because this weapon doesn't have any decent crit chance, the crit berserker build is out, but because again we're using covert lethality, who cares about that? Now, one thing to note is that the Rakta Dark Dagger is a Dark Dagger variant, so you can use the Red Veil Syndicate Mock Gleaming Blight, which has a 100% increased chance in starters proc, as well as a +1 Blight. Now, in theory, this looks pretty good on paper, because it increases that radiation proc, allow you to steal shield or get shield and overshield more often. However, in reality, if you think about it, it's not great, because this is literally the only chance when you don't want a Syndicate unique ability, i.e. the 1000 AoE damage on a Syndicate melee, because of covert lethality. So when you have covert lethality, you do not want to do any non-lethal damage to enemies, because that will just alert them, making covert lethality unable to do finishers, right? So it's almost ironic, the only Syndicate melee weapon that can actually have a Syndicate 1000 AoE damage when the gauge is full is not ideal to have it, because it's covert lethality based. So overall, is the Rakta Dark Dagger a top tier weapon? Well, it is, but not because of the weapon, it's because of covert lethality, right? And in that sense, weapons like the Sheath and other daggers doesn't really come much inferior compared to the Rakta Dark Dagger. I suppose in a decently long game, such as some sortie missions with high level enemies, or some raid missions, you may not be able to kill the enemy very fast, and that shield or overshield is useful, but I kind of feel those situations are limited, and you really need this additional shield or overshield on those missions. So I guess my conclusion is a classic: use it if you like it, don't if you don't. Not that useful, but it's the reality of it. And overall, it is a unique weapon. I did enjoy leveling it up, just not a weapon that I will use regularly.